Hi, my name is Diana Walker and I work with the University of Nevada, Reno Extension in the 4-H program. You see my little 4-H clover here. 4-H does youth programming throughout all of Clark County, and I've been doing a quarantine cooking series. And today we're going to be learning how to make naan bread. Naan is a really easy, simple kind of flat bread that takes a very minimal amount of yeast. And that's why I like this for quarantine cooking, because you don't need a lot of crazy ingredients. What we'll need today is 1 teaspoon of yeast, so not much at all. A cup of warm water, not hot. If you've baked bread before, you kind of know you don't want to kill the yeast, so you want warm water. 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of yogurt, which I don't have. So I'm going to make it without yogurt because it's quarantine cooking. It will affect the texture. The yogurt gives a kind of a better, smoother, kind of a finer texture, but that's all right. We do what we can with what we have. We're gonna do 1 large egg and a teaspoon of salt, and then 2.5 to 3 cups of all-purpose flour. So let's get right into it. Let me kind of move this down so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I've got this awesome bowl, April Shumway out there. You know where I got this bowl. I'm gonna start out with actually the warm water, kind of like how you do a regular bread recipe. And to that I'm gonna add my 1 teaspoon of yeast. So sprinkle that in there. Kind of get that going in here. We're going to add in our 2 tablespoons of sugar. So a little sugar ball over here. The sugar is going to activate that yeast. The yeast will want to eat that sugar and create some gases, and it'll start to kind of foam up. Normally with a regular bread recipe, I would let this sit and foam up, but with naan, since we don't have a ton of yeast in there, we don't really want a big giant puffy dough, there's no need. So we've got this. I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. This is when I would add the yogurt, but since I don't have yogurt, you can add a little bit of milk. I'll probably end up just adding a little bit more water. I have the beautiful egg that I got from an awesome 4-H kid out there who is raising chickens. So Tyson P, thank you for these gorgeous eggs. Let me get this kind of cracked. I'm gonna kind of beat this egg before we put it in. And get this little mixed up. You do want to add your salt now. It's a teaspoon of salt. Okay. Okay, so just double checking we have everything. We've got our 2 tablespoons of sugar, we've got our 1 cup of warm water, we have our egg, our salt, and our sugar. So we should be good to add the flour. We're gonna be adding 2 cups, well, 2.5 to 3 cups, depending on how much liquid we have, and that will help us decide if I need to make up for the yogurt or not. But I'm gonna slowly start adding this, and I'll do a little time lapse so you can see me mixing it. See you in just a second. Okay, so we've been mixing this for about 5 minutes by hand, or 2 to 3 minutes if you have a stand mixer. And I want you to look, this is really sticky. It's a sticky dough. It's kind of glaring there. I hope you can see that. That's dark there. And you don't want it too sticky, so I'm going to add a little bit of extra flour because we want to be able to kind of knead this in a little while. Whoop, I'm always getting flour all over my shirt. I should be wearing an apron. My mom would be like, go get an apron on. So I'm getting closer to 3 cups of dough. Because we don't use the metric system, our flour is always going to be different in every recipe that we have. If we went by weight, it would be a little bit easier, but this recipe is in cups. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. Okay, from here, I'm going to I'm going to knead it a little bit. I'll pour it out and knead it a little bit. Roll it into 8 little balls, kind of like the way we did flour tortillas a while back, if you guys watched that video. So there's some similarities there. I'm going to roll it into 8 balls, and then I'm going to let it rest for about 30 minutes. And again, we always get the question, do I have to let the dough rest? Yes, you do. It makes a huge difference because we've worked and stirred, and we're going to be kneading this dough to get some gluten going. And if you try to roll it out, it's going to be really hard and it won't be smooth to roll out. So we let it rest so that that gluten can relax and you can get a nice kind of, when you're rolling it out, a nice, even, smooth dough. So I'll see you in just a second. All right, our dough has been resting for about 30 minutes and it's puffed up a little bit. It's not like a bread dough where it's gonna double in size. Remember, we only have 1 teaspoon of yeast in there. And the way I was raised is once you have dough, you have dinner. And so you can kind of make anything with this. So I would take one of these dough balls. Traditionally, naan is rolled out into kind of a long oval. But if you rolled it out into a circle, you could have gorditas. Kind of change ethnic food groups there. But yeah, make it like a soft taco gordita. You could even roll them out into a circle, fry them up as kind of a flattened scone and add some cinnamon and sugar. But for this, we're going to make naan because that's what we're making today. I've got my skillet over here. You can do it, traditionally it's done in a clay tandoor. And I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly, but it's a tandoor oven and it gets really hot. It's like 500 degrees. So you want to make this as hot as you can get it. If you do it in your oven, make it hot, put it on a cookie sheet. You can do it, cast iron would be awesome and would work really well, but I'm kind of a fan of my electric griddle because I feel like I can cook a lot of things at one time. So let me show you really quickly. I'm gonna roll this out. If you don't have a rolling pin, as always, get a PVC pipe. Make sure it's clean. Your kids can roll this out. As you can see, this gluten has kind of relaxed, so it's wanting to stretch a little bit more for us. I'm going to use this one. There's a little spot. You can kind of see the shape. So if you want to flavor this, this is when you would actually add flavorings, and you can make them different. You could put chopped garlic in here and roll it on top of it before you cook it. You could put garlic powder. Oftentimes, traditionally, they'll chop up, we call it cilantro, chop it up and put it on there and roll it so it flattens down into the bread before you cook it, and that's really yummy. I would put butter on your grill, or if you have olive oil or any kind of oil you have, just to kind of give it a crisp, because traditional naan bread kind of has a crisp outside. So I'm going to stick this on the grill really quickly with a little bit of butter. I hope you can see my grill over there. That's really hot. And here it goes. Maybe I'll bring it over here so you can see it. Check out my, there we go. So you can see it's really hot, it's cooking up. You can see like the bubbles kind of forming. Very similar to the flour tortilla that we had, but this has yeast in it, so it's going to be a little bit puffier than a flour tortilla. So, you can totally edit that out if you want to, Mia. We're going to let that cook. We'll flip it over. Get some tongs to check on it. Ooh, it's getting close. And like I said in my hummus video last time. Hummus is so yummy and easy and cheap to make. This is all I have left from the hummus video. I was gonna save this so that we had it with the naan bread. But thankfully, some random person dropped off a 6-pound can of garbanzo beans. So I don't know if that was a joke or if someone was being really, really kind, but we were excited about it anyway. And I'm going to make some hummus with this. I'll go back and use my hummus recipe. And just a shout out to my friend, Dr. Jim Rimpa, who is one of the managers at the Mesquite Heritage Community Garden. He reminded me that garbanzo beans are known as chickpeas to all the Aggies out there. So if you are an Aggie, as I consider myself an Ag girl, I should have been calling them chickpeas, but anyway, thanks Jim, I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to flip this now, so it's ready. You can kind of see it over there. Let it cook on that other side. Let me grab a plate. And here it is, if you can kind of see it there. This side, it looks very similar to a flour tortilla, but the other thing you could do that I didn't mention is do olive oil and garlic, cut these into breadsticks so you can serve them with spaghetti. It's just a really awesome recipe that's easy, really cheap to make. You can make a lot of them quickly, and it's great for quarantine. So thank you again for joining us for this cooking demonstration and stopping in for a minute to see what 4-H youth programming is all about. Throughout all of Clark County, we do youth programming to make the best better for our kids' heads, hearts, hands, and health. Until next time, bye-bye.